Debansu দাস ধন্যবাদ।
নমস্কার। নমস্কার। পঞ্চমুখীর পক্ষ থেকে আমরা সকলে অত্যন্ত আনন্দিত এবং গর্বিত যে আমাদের মধ্যে আজ আছেন এক স্বনামধন্য এবং সার্থক বাঙালি, বহু পুরস্কারে অলঙ্কৃত এবং যার কলমে সুচারু সৃষ্টিতে ন্যূনতম 25টি বই প্রকাশিত হয়েছে এবং যার সর্বোপরি সক্রিয় প্রচেষ্টা এবং দক্ষ পরিবেশনায় ক্রীড়া জগৎকে পৌঁছে দিয়েছেন তিনি অগণিত ক্রীড়ামোদী মানুষের কাছে। এই কৃতি মানুষটি এক সাংবাদিক হওয়ার স্বপ্ন দেখেছিলেন। আজ তিনি এক সফল সাংবাদিক, সফল বাঙালির কাছে পথপ্রদর্শক এক তারকা।
Ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of Panchamukhee, it gives me an immense pleasure to introduce to a famous Bengali who has authored more than 25 books, won a dozen of awards, and brought sports to millions of viewers all across the world. And most importantly, he has achieved his own dream to be a journalist. Well, I think a famous journalist.
মিহির নামটি আমাদের কাছে বেশ পরিচিত। মিহির সেন ছিলেন বিশ্ববিখ্যাত এক সাঁতারু, কিন্তু আজ সম্মান জানাচ্ছি আরেকজন মিহিরকে, যিনি জীবনযুদ্ধে সাঁতার কেটে এই দেশে নিজেকে প্রতিষ্ঠিত করতে পেরেছেন এক সফল সাংবাদিক হিসেবে। তার নাম মিহির বোস।
Although the name Mihir reminds Bengalis with Mihir Sen, the first Indian to swing the English Channel way back in 1958, ladies and gentlemen, we are talking about another famous Bengali who is also connected with sports and were the first Asian probably to be the sports editor with the BBC, the Sunday Times and the Telegraph. And ladies and gentlemen, his name is Mihir Bose.
মিহির বোস কলকাতায় কালীঘাটে দাদুর বাড়িতে জন্ম নিয়েছিলেন 12 জানুয়ারি 1947-এ। মুম্বাই শহরে মিহির তার পড়াশোনা সেন্ট জেভিয়ার্স কলেজে। বাবা ছিলেন প্রখ্যাত শিল্পপতি, চেয়েছিলেন ছেলে লয়ার বা ইঞ্জিনিয়ার হয়, কিন্তু মিহির বোস নিজে লেখক হতে চেয়েছিলেন এবং সেটাই হয়ে দেখিয়েছেন তিনি।
Born in Kolkata 1947, probably you will remember the year of Indian independence. On 12th of January, also shares the birthday with Swami Vivekananda. He started in Xavier's. Of course, you named the Sunil Gavaskar. He was 2 years senior to him as well. His father was a famous businessman from Mumbai. Often people will remember with dark back, and wanted him to become an engineer or a lawyer, but he always wanted to be a writer, and he did.
1967-তে মিহির বোস ইংল্যান্ডে আসেন। চার্টার্ড অ্যাকাউন্টেন্ট মিহির বোস ধীরে ধীরে লেখার টানে সাংবাদিকতার দিকে মনোযোগ দেন এবং সানডে টাইমস, ডেইলি টেলিগ্রাফ এবং বিবিসির সঙ্গে যুক্ত 40 বছর যুক্ত ছিলেন।
In 1969, he came to England and became a chartered accountant, while he continued to write novels and plays during the weekends and the nights. He started his career with the London radio station in 1974 and later spent 20 years with the Sunday Times and 10 years with the Daily Telegraph before joining the BBC as a leading investigative journalist. He has the reputation of scoop merchant, and according to the PR wheel, he gets his teeth into the stories.
নানা বাধাবিঘ্ন পেরিয়ে তিনি নিজেকে লক্ষ্যের দিকে এগিয়ে নিয়ে গেছেন। বাবার বকুনি বা ফুটবল প্রেমীদের কটাক্ষ কোনো কিছুতেই তিনি লক্ষ্যভ্রষ্ট হননি। এই দৃঢ়তা নিয়ে তিনি আজ নিজেকে এক অত্যন্ত সফল সাংবাদিক হিসেবে প্রতিষ্ঠিত করতে পেরেছেন।
Panchamukhee is extremely honored to have the presence of Mr. Mihir Bose, whom we would be felicitating at the end of this program. But beforehand, we would like to invite Mihir to share his thoughts, come to the stage and motivate all of us, especially the younger generations. with his kind words. Mihir Bose, please.
স্বাগত জানাচ্ছে আমাদেরই এক নবীন পঞ্চমুখী অর্ণব তালুকদার।
I request Mihir to share some thoughts with us, please.
Thank you very much. Can you hear me? I hope you can. Well, this is all very embarrassing. We journalists are not meant to inspire people. We are meant to surely denigrate people, expose them, things like that. Well, what can I say to inspire you? আমাকে বলা হয়েছে যে বাংলাতে আমার বলা উচিত, but I should confess that because I grew up in Bombay, though I can speak Bengali, I can't read Bengali, so my relations have never considered me a proper Bengali. I can't read Rabindranath Tagore in the original. And I'm sorry, I shouldn't have been wearing shoes following that play. You know, the little boy who touched my feet really collected the dust from my feet. I think I always wanted to be a journalist. My father said, there's no money in journalism. You spend your time in bars, drinking. He had a lot of journalist friends in Bombay, and that is true. I have spent a lot of time in bars drinking, you know, but that is part of the profession, I would say. I think the lesson, in fact, there's a lesson to impart, is if you believe in something, you've got to do it. I qualified as a chartered accountant. India te fire gechilam. I was a partner in a firm. I was writing books as well on the side, and I looked at myself and I said, if I don't give up this very cushy life, you know, as you know, in India you can have a very cushy life, you can have drivers, servants, things like that if you have money, the sort of things we can't imagine here, unless of course you're a Lakshmi Mittal, and then you're in a different league altogether. And I decided when I came back to this country for a holiday, in fact, if I didn't give up my chartered accountancy and become a full-time journalist, I would always curse myself. And I think one advice, if I can give to anybody, is that if you want to do something, you've got to dedicate yourself 100%. One of your colleagues who opened this program said it was very different back in the 60s when I first came. In those days, the black and white minstrel show used to be on, and Spike Milligan used to dress up as an Indian waiter. And the only thing he ever said on television was, goodness gracious me. Spike Milligan had some Indian connection. I think he was born in India many years, back in the early part of the last century. Anyway, that was a different world. And the one thing I also decided, that though I may not be able to write Bengali, I'm a Bengali, I'm proud of my name, and I never wanted to change my name. And let me tell you a story. When I became a journalist in the Sunday Times, and I was a football reporter, and you know the name Mihir, Bengalis, it's a very simple name, Mihir, quite a well-known name. In fact, I had the pleasure of meeting Mihir said, not that I can ever swim. In fact, for me, swimming is an impossible thing. Because when I grew up in India, most people didn't learn how to swim. I don't know if it's changed in India now, but I think even now many people in India don't know how to swim. But anyway, I came to this country, I became a journalist, and I know other Indians who decided to change their names. But I remained Mihir. The only problem was I would go to, say, Old Trafford to report a football match, and in those days, this is pre-computers, pre-emails and all that, you telephone copy. You would ring up a number, and I would say, it's Mihir. And they say, yes, we know you're there, but what's your name? So, you know, it would take a long time before I could convince them that I was a genuine reporter actually reporting copy in a football match. Nevertheless, in fact, the first time the Sunday Times printed my story, a football match report, which fortunately, and being a Tottenham fan, I can say it was Chelsea 1, Tottenham 3. There was that, you know, and they won today as well. Big sacrifice I've made, you know, not being at White Hart Lane, but here. You can see how much I've devoted to trying to inspire you. But anyway, and I remember the Sunday Times misprinted my name because they put an extra H in Bose. But the lesson I drew from that was I will be true to who I am, where I am from, be proud of my origins, but be prepared to look at other things, to look at the world as it is, and if you like, be critical of my origins, but that doesn't mean be false to it. And I think that's a very important lesson, and it was very, very encouraging to find the young people here put on this play and speak Bengali so well. And that is, I think, that the parents and the other people who organise that play deserve a great deal of credit. And the other thing is, you've got to work hard. If you come from another country, particularly if you come from another race to this country, which is of a particular race, not that I'm saying this is a particularly racist country, no, this can be a very tolerant country, you've got to be aware that you've got to break through a ceiling. You've got to break through and reach a higher ceiling, a higher level. You've got to say you're good, but you've got to learn at being good. You've got to, I never went to a journalism course. I learned journalism on the ground, which in my opinion is still the best way to learn journalism. But you want to prove that you're better than anybody else. Not in an assertive, proud way, but to prove that you can do it. And also, the other thing is, in my journalism, I've always seen my journalism as telling stories. Let me tell you a story of, I wrote a biography of Subhash Chandra Bose, a great man, and a rebel, controversial figure, and one can have various views about him. And it came about because one went to a pub, the sort of thing that my father said I would do as a journalist, and I told somebody a story about